Have you ever wondered why, no matter how kind, careful, or loving you are, the same toxic people keep showing up in your life? Why do some people drain you, manipulate you, or break your trust over and over? The answer isn't them. It's not random. It's rooted deep in your psychology, in the way your mind, heart, and attachment patterns interact with the world. In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden science of why you attract toxic people, break the cycle, and show you exactly how to reclaim control over your relationships once and for all. Pay attention, because what you're about to learn could change the way you connect with everyone in your life. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this question? Why do I keep attracting the same kind of people? Different faces, different stories, but somehow the same pain every time. At first, they seem charming, attentive, almost magnetic. And then, slowly, things change. You start feeling confused. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. You give more, explain more, try harder, while they pull back, shut down, or become emotionally unavailable. Here's the truth most people never hear. You don't attract toxic people because you're broken. You don't attract them because you're weak. And it's not because you love too much. According to the new science of adult attachment by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, attraction is not random. It is driven by your nervous system, by patterns that were shaped long before you were aware of them. Your brain is not looking for what is healthy. It is looking for what feels familiar. And if chaos, inconsistency, or emotional distance once felt like love, your system will keep mistaking those signals for connection. This series will help you understand why toxic people recognize you, why they stay, and how to finally break the cycle without becoming cold, closed, or afraid of love. This is not about blame. It's about clarity, and clarity changes everything. Most people believe attraction is a conscious choice, that you decide who you fall for. But neuroscience and attachment research tell a very different story. According to the new science of adult attachment, your attachment style acts like an invisible script. It quietly guides who feels safe, who feels exciting, and who feels impossible to let go of. There are three primary attachment styles in adulthood: secure, anxious, and avoidant. Secure people feel calm in connection. They don't chase, and they don't disappear. They communicate clearly and handle conflict without fear. But anxious and avoidant styles are where toxic cycles often begin. If you have an anxious attachment style, your nervous system is highly sensitive to rejection. You crave closeness, reassurance, and emotional availability. When someone pulls away, your anxiety intensifies and attachment deepens. Avoidant individuals, on the other hand, value independence above intimacy. They shut down when things get emotionally close. Distance feels safe to them. Vulnerability does not. Here's the trap. Anxious and avoidant styles magnetically attract each other. The anxious person chases. The avoidant person retreats. And the emotional push-pull creates intensity that feels like passion, but is actually stress. This is why toxic connections feel addictive. Your nervous system is constantly activated, mistaking anxiety for love. Understanding this isn't about labeling yourself. It's about recognizing the pattern that keeps repeating, so you can finally interrupt it. Have you ever noticed something strange? The healthiest people you meet may seem boring, calm, predictable, too easy. But the ones who confuse you, ignore you, or pull away, those are the ones you can't stop thinking about. This is not coincidence. It's chemistry driven by your nervous system. According to the new science of adult attachment, intensity is often mistaken for intimacy. When your attachment system is activated, your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals heighten focus, obsession, and emotional fixation. Your body enters a state of alertness. You analyze texts. You replay conversations. You wait for signs. And your brain interprets this constant emotional arousal as meaning. But here's the truth. Peace does not activate trauma responses. Safety does not create emotional chaos. Toxic people trigger uncertainty. And uncertainty keeps your attachment system engaged. For someone with an anxious attachment style, emotional unpredictability feels familiar. It mirrors early experiences of inconsistent care, love that came and went. Your mind learns to associate emotional tension with closeness. That's why consistency can feel dull, and inconsistency feels irresistible. But what feels intense is not always what is healthy. When attraction is fueled by anxiety, it doesn't lead to connection. It leads to emotional exhaustion. Recognizing this shift from intensity to stability is the first step toward breaking the cycle. Next, we'll explore how childhood conditioning quietly trains you to accept toxic dynamics. Long before you dated anyone, long before you knew the word toxic, your nervous system was already learning what love feels like. According to the new science of adult attachment, our earliest emotional experiences form the blueprint for adult relationships. As a child, you didn't analyze behavior. You adapted to it. If love was inconsistent, you learned to stay alert. If affection was earned, you learned to perform. If emotions were dismissed, you learned to suppress your needs. This conditioning didn't disappear as you grew older. It simply went underground. Now, as an adult, your mind may want stability, but your body seeks what feels familiar. If chaos felt normal growing up, calm may feel unfamiliar, and unfamiliar can feel unsafe. This is why toxic people don't feel strange at first. They feel recognizable. Your attachment system is not asking, "Is this healthy?" It's asking, "Does this match what I know?" And toxic dynamics often do. This is not your fault. It's learned survival. But here's the critical shift. What once protected you is now limiting you. You are no longer the child who had to adapt. You are the adult who gets to choose. Next, we'll uncover why boundaries feel so uncomfortable and why toxic people are drawn to their absence. Toxic people don't search for kind people. They search for available people. People who overgive. People who hesitate to say no. People who feel guilty for having needs. And those traits often come from one place: weak boundaries. According to attachment research, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting emotional safety. But if you grew up in an environment where your feelings were ignored, where love was conditional, or where conflict felt dangerous, boundaries can feel threatening. You may fear that saying no will lead to abandonment, that asking for respect will cause rejection. So instead, you stay quiet. Toxic individuals sense this quickly, not consciously, but intuitively. They test limits. They cross lines. And when there is little resistance, they move closer. At first, this feels like attention, like desire, like being chosen. But over time, it becomes draining. You begin to accommodate, to justify behavior, to abandon yourself to maintain connection. Here's the truth most people never learn. Boundaries don't push healthy people away. They repel unhealthy ones. And the discomfort you feel when setting a boundary is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something new. In the next part, we'll examine why your empathy, one of your greatest strengths, can become a vulnerability when misused. Empathy is a gift. It allows you to feel, understand, and connect. It lets you see the world through another person's eyes. But empathy has a shadow side. When combined with unresolved attachment patterns, it can make you a magnet for toxic people. According to the new science of adult attachment, anxiously attached individuals often overvalue empathy as a tool for connection. They sense others' needs more than their own. They want to fix, soothe, and save. And toxic people sense this instantly. They recognize someone willing to absorb their chaos. Someone who will excuse bad behavior in the name of compassion. Someone who will compromise their boundaries to maintain peace. At first, it feels like closeness. You feel needed. You feel wanted. You feel important. But slowly, empathy becomes a trap. You give too much. You tolerate too much. You justify too much. The irony? Your gift, the ability to understand, is being used against you. Not maliciously, but predictably. True emotional strength is learning to feel deeply without losing yourself. You can care without enabling. You can empathize without overextending. In the next part, we'll uncover how attachment styles influence why you keep returning to the same toxic patterns. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to repeatedly attract the same type of toxic partner? The answer often lies in your attachment style. According to the new science of adult attachment, there are 3 main adult attachment styles: secure, anxious, and avoidant. If you're anxiously attached, you crave closeness and fear abandonment. You're highly sensitive to rejection and will often tolerate behaviors that feel unsafe just to maintain connection. If you're avoidant, you fear intimacy. You push people away or detach when things get too close. But paradoxically, you may still attract partners who demand emotional availability, forcing you to confront discomfort you've spent your life avoiding. Toxic individuals are drawn to these patterns. They recognize who will accommodate, who will chase, and who will hesitate to leave. This isn't your fault. It's biology and psychology interacting with past experiences. The challenge and the freedom comes from awareness. Once you recognize your attachment patterns, you can begin to see why certain people feel familiar, even when they're harmful. Understanding your attachment style is not about blame. It's about empowerment. It's about knowing the invisible forces shaping your relationships. Next, we'll explore how emotional triggers make toxic dynamics feel almost inevitable, and what you can do to regain control. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I always fall into the same toxic patterns, even when I know better? The answer lies in emotional triggers. These are automatic reactions buried deep in your psyche, echoes of past pain, fear, or unmet needs. According to the new science of adult attachment, triggers often activate your attachment system. For someone with an anxious attachment style, even a small sign of rejection, a delayed text, a neutral comment, or a disagreement can feel catastrophic. Your mind screams, abandonment, danger, I need to fix this. Toxic individuals unconsciously or intentionally activate these triggers. They know exactly how to push your buttons without doing anything overtly wrong. The result? You feel pulled back into the relationship again and again, chasing approval, connection, or validation. It's not weakness. It's biology and psychology at work. Your brain is trying to keep you safe in ways that were useful in the past, but now they play out in unhealthy patterns. Awareness is the first step to breaking this cycle. You can notice your triggers, pause, and respond consciously instead of reacting automatically. In next part, we'll discuss the dangerous interplay of fear and desire, why toxic people feel magnetic, even when you know they're harmful. Why do toxic people feel irresistible, even when you know they're bad for you? Why do you keep coming back, despite the pain? The answer lies in a mix of fear and desire, wired deeply into your attachment system. Toxic individuals often present contradictory signals: warmth followed by withdrawal, affection followed by indifference. Your brain reacts like a reward system on overdrive. This unpredictability triggers the same chemical pathways as love, excitement, and passion. Dopamine spikes, adrenaline rushes, making the relationship feel addictive. For someone with an anxious attachment style, these mixed signals intensify longing and insecurity. You chase moments of connection, hoping the pain will end, hoping the warmth will last. Your mind tricks you. This time it will be different. This time they really care. But the pattern repeats because the core emotional dynamics are unresolved. Your desire for closeness collides with your fear of abandonment, keeping you trapped in a cycle. Understanding this isn't about blame. It's about awareness. Once you see the chemistry behind attraction, you gain the power to pause, to choose, and to respond rather than react. In coming part, we'll explore how childhood experiences shape these adult patterns and why they feel so familiar. Have you ever noticed that toxic relationships feel strangely familiar? Even though the person is new, the patterns feel like old stories repeating themselves. This is no accident. According to the new science of adult attachment, our childhood experiences shape our attachment patterns, the templates for love, trust, and safety. If you grew up with inconsistency, caregivers who were warm one moment and distant the next, your brain learned to expect instability. You may have internalized the belief, love is unpredictable. I must chase it to keep it. Toxic people unconsciously mimic these early dynamics. They trigger familiar emotions, fears, and reactions, which can feel comforting even when they hurt. Your mind interprets it as normal because it's what you've always known. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means you are human. Your brain is wired to recreate patterns that feel familiar, even if they're harmful. The good news? Once you recognize these childhood imprints, you can stop reliving them unconsciously. Awareness allows you to create healthier boundaries, respond differently, and attract relationships that feel safe. Next, we'll dive into the role of self-esteem, why low self-worth attracts toxic dynamics, and how you can begin to change this pattern. Have you ever wondered why toxic individuals seem to gravitate towards certain people? The truth often lies in self-worth. When your sense of value comes from others' approval, you unconsciously signal vulnerability. You may tolerate mistreatment, excuse bad behavior, or constantly seek validation. The new science of adult attachment explains that those with anxious attachment styles often struggle with self-esteem. You may think, if I just try harder, love will last. If I just change, they'll stay. Toxic people pick up on this. They unconsciously or consciously exploit it, keeping you hooked in a cycle of chase and reward. Low self-worth doesn't mean you're weak. It means your inner sense of value hasn't been fully nurtured yet. It's a signal, not a sentence. By recognizing how your self-esteem influences your relationships, you can start breaking the pattern. Boundaries, self-validation, and understanding your triggers are the first steps. In the next part, we'll examine the different toxic attachment styles and how each interacts with your own patterns to keep you trapped. Toxic relationships often aren't random. They're a collision of attachment patterns. Some people have avoidant tendencies. They fear intimacy, pull away, and create emotional distance. Others are anxious. They crave closeness, seek reassurance, and become hyper-focused on connection. When these two types meet, it creates a push-pull dynamic, a magnetic tension that feels intense, exciting, and yet exhausting. Even two anxious individuals can trigger cycles of jealousy, fear, and insecurity, repeating patterns of childhood longing or rejection. Toxic dynamics are amplified because your subconscious sees familiarity, not health. Your mind misinterprets chaos as love, drama as care, and unpredictability as passion. Understanding these patterns gives you clarity. It allows you to recognize when someone's behavior is a reflection of their attachment style, not a reflection of your worth. Once you can see the invisible rules of the relationship, you start to reclaim your agency. You can choose whether to engage, set limits, or step away. Next, we'll explore the specific strategies toxic people use to keep you hooked and why your brain keeps falling for them. It's not just chance that toxic people stay in your life. They know, consciously or unconsciously, how to pull you in. One common tactic is intermittent reinforcement. Small moments of kindness, praise, or attention followed by withdrawal or criticism. Your brain becomes addicted to the unpredictability, much like craving a slot machine's next reward. They may also use gaslighting, making you doubt your perception, your judgment, even your memory. You start questioning yourself, wondering, am I overreacting? Is it really me? This confusion strengthens their control and keeps you chasing clarity that never comes. Another strategy is emotional mirroring. They reflect your desires, your fears, your hopes, then twist them subtly to create dependency. Suddenly, it feels like they understand you better than anyone else, but it's a calculated illusion. Recognizing these hooks is empowering. You no longer have to feel trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment. The first step is awareness, seeing the pattern clearly, naming it, and understanding why your brain responds. Next, we'll explore the role of emotional triggers, the exact points toxic people target, and how to reclaim control over them. Toxic people rarely attack randomly. They target your emotional triggers. These are the hidden vulnerabilities shaped by childhood experiences, past rejections, or unmet needs. A single word, a glance, or a pause can ignite fear, anger, or self-doubt, often without you even realizing why. For example, if you struggled with feeling ignored as a child, a delayed text can feel like abandonment. If you've battled criticism, even mild feedback can feel like an attack. Toxic individuals pick up on these patterns instinctively, using them to manipulate your reactions. Understanding your triggers is liberating. Once you identify what sparks intense reactions, you can pause, breathe, and respond consciously instead of reacting impulsively. It's no longer about changing them. It's about changing your response. Your triggers are not weaknesses. They're signals pointing to areas in your life that need attention and self-care. By mastering them, you reduce the power toxic people have over your mind and emotions. In the next part, we'll dive into the patterns of narcissistic and controlling behaviors and why they are so effective at exploiting attachment styles. Some toxic people exhibit narcissistic tendencies, and understanding their patterns can save you from falling into repeated cycles. They are often charming at first, attentive, and seemingly intuitive. This initial idealization feels intoxicating, like they truly see you. But beneath the charm lies control and self-interest, often cloaked in subtle manipulation. Narcissistic individuals exploit your attachment style. If you are anxious, they intensify your need for reassurance, keeping you tethered. If you are avoidant, they provoke frustration or guilt, making you feel you must compromise your boundaries. They use tactics such as love bombing, overwhelming attention and flattery to create dependence, silent treatment, withdrawal to punish or gain compliance, projection, blaming you for their flaws or actions, twisting reality. Recognizing these patterns is your shield. You don't have to feel trapped by their charm or manipulated by their tactics. The key is observation without attachment, to see the strategy without letting it dictate your emotions. Now, we'll explore why we unconsciously attract these individuals and what internal patterns make this cycle repeat. It's easy to blame toxic people for entering your life, but the truth is, our own internal patterns often attract them. According to the new science of adult attachment, our attachment style, formed in childhood, plays a central role. Anxious attachment. You crave closeness and fear abandonment. Toxic people exploit this by giving just enough attention to keep you hooked. Avoidant attachment. You fear intimacy, yet feel lonely. Toxic partners can pull you in with moments of intensity, then withdraw, matching your inner tension. Disorganized attachment. A mix of anxiety and avoidance. You are drawn to chaos because it feels familiar, even if it hurts. The key insight: you are not weak or broken. These patterns developed as survival mechanisms. You learned early that safety sometimes came through manipulation, appeasement, or hypervigilance. By understanding your own attachment style, you see why certain people feel irresistible, even when they harm you. Awareness is the first step toward breaking the cycle. Next, we'll examine how self-worth plays a critical role in choosing who stays in your life and who leaves. One of the most overlooked reasons we attract toxic people is our sense of self-worth. When you unconsciously doubt your value, you tolerate behavior that others wouldn't. You over-apologize, compromise your boundaries, and justify harmful actions because deep down, you feel you don't deserve better. Toxic individuals sense this immediately. They are drawn to people who will accommodate their needs while neglecting their own. And it's rarely malicious at first. It's instinctual. They gravitate toward those whose self-esteem gaps mirror their own sense of entitlement. Think about it this way. If you constantly seek validation outside yourself, your energy becomes a magnet. Your desire to be loved or accepted can inadvertently signal, "I am pliable, and I will endure what others can't." The solution begins with cultivating inner worth. When you value yourself, you set invisible boundaries, and toxic behavior no longer slips past. You start attracting people who match your energy, not drain it. In coming part, we'll explore practical strategies to rebuild self-worth and prevent toxic patterns from repeating. Toxic people are masters at emotional manipulation, and understanding their tactics is key to breaking the cycle. They rarely appear harmful at first. Instead, they charm, flatter, and make you feel special or needed. Slowly, they test your boundaries, observe your reactions, and identify where you are most vulnerable. These manipulations are subtle: guilt-tripping, gaslighting, passive aggression, or creating dependency. Each action feeds off your insecurities. Why does this work? Because your attachment style, as explained in the new science of adult attachment, influences how you respond to rejection or approval. If you fear abandonment or crave validation, you're more likely to stay despite red flags. The first step in stopping this pattern is awareness. Recognize the signs of manipulation before it escalates. Name the tactics for what they are. When you identify the game being played, you regain control. Next, combine awareness with self-worth. As your confidence grows, manipulation loses its power because toxic behaviors cannot thrive in someone who values themselves first. Now, we'll explore how attachment styles shape your relationships and why certain patterns keep recurring. Toxic people are masters at emotional manipulation, and understanding their tactics is key to breaking the cycle. They rarely appear harmful at first. Instead, they charm, flatter, and make you feel special or needed. Slowly, they test your boundaries, observe your reactions, and identify where you are most vulnerable. These manipulations are subtle: guilt-tripping, gaslighting, passive aggression, or creating dependency. Each action feeds off your insecurities. Why does this work? Because your attachment style, as explained in the new science of adult attachment, influences how you respond to rejection or approval. If you fear abandonment or crave validation, you're more likely to stay despite red flags. The first step in stopping this pattern is awareness. Recognize the signs of manipulation before it escalates. Name the tactics for what they are. When you identify the game being played, you regain control. Next, combine awareness with self-worth. As your confidence grows, manipulation loses its power because toxic behaviors cannot thrive in someone who values themselves first. Next, we'll explore how attachment styles shape your relationships and why certain patterns keep recurring. Have you ever noticed a pattern in your relationships? The same kind of toxic dynamics over and over again. This is not coincidence. According to the new science of adult attachment, your attachment style, secure, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized, shapes how you perceive closeness, trust, and conflict. If you have an anxious attachment style, you may chase approval, tolerate disrespect, or overanalyze every interaction. If you are avoidant, you might unconsciously push people away or stay in relationships that feel safe but emotionally distant. Disorganized attachment creates a confusing mix of approach and withdrawal. These patterns attract people who exploit your emotional tendencies. Toxic individuals are drawn to your vulnerabilities. They sense where you are likely to overcompensate, forgive too easily, or stay silent. The good news? Awareness is the first step to breaking the cycle. Once you understand your attachment style, you can predict your triggers, recognize unhealthy patterns early, and make conscious choices. Next, we'll discuss practical strategies for strengthening your emotional boundaries so that toxic people no longer find entry into your life. You cannot control who enters your life, but you can control what you allow in. This is the essence of emotional boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are lines of self-respect, signaling what behavior you will or will not tolerate. Saying no is not selfish, it is necessary. Walking away from manipulation is not failure, it is survival. Start by recognizing where your vulnerabilities lie. Are you too eager to please? Do you fear abandonment? Do you overgive to earn love? Once identified, practice small but consistent actions. Politely decline requests that drain you. Limit exposure to people who trigger anxiety. Communicate your needs clearly and calmly. Avoid over-explaining yourself. Over time, boundaries strengthen your inner compass, making it harder for toxic people to manipulate you. People may resist or react, but that is their pattern, not yours. Boundaries are your shield and your guide. They do not close you off from genuine connection. They protect your peace, allowing healthy relationships to flourish. In the last part, we will tie everything together, understanding why toxic people are drawn to you, how to break the cycle, and the step-by-step plan to reclaim control over your emotional life. Let's put it all together. You now know the psychology behind why toxic people appear in your life. You understand attachment styles, the patterns that attract toxicity, and the subtle ways manipulation operates. The real transformation begins when you act intentionally. Here's a concise plan. Recognize the patterns, notice red flags, and manipulation early. Understand your attachment style. Learn how it influences your reactions. Set and enforce boundaries. Protect your emotional energy consistently. Build self-worth. Invest in self-love, hobbies, and supportive relationships. Release toxic ties. Step away without guilt. Your peace is your priority. Toxic people are not always obvious, but your awareness is your power. When you align your actions with self-respect, you no longer attract manipulation. You attract healthy, respectful, and mutually fulfilling relationships. Remember, The cycle ends when you stop unknowingly feeding it. The moment you value yourself enough to walk away, speak up, and protect your emotional space, you reclaim control. You are no longer a magnet for toxicity. You are the curator of your own life, choosing connections that nurture, not drain. This is your turning point. Your life, your boundaries, your peace. You have the power.